Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom number 5, Blackarachnia. This is the first time we're getting a show-accurate Beast Wars Blackarachnia outside of the Masterpiece line, so this is very exciting for me as a longtime Beast Wars collector. The original Blackarachnia toy was just a recolor of Tarantulas, and as such, not only did not match Blackarachnia in form of like physique and details, but the colors were just like way different. It was like purple and green, and they went with a very different look for the show. We did get a retooling of the Transformers animated Blackarachnia as like some sort of an in-between Beast Wars and animated, but that never quite did it for me. So now we finally get something which is very close to the show appearance, and I am stoked. So if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Blackarachnia's packaging. Then we'll open it up, we'll see her new Fate reveal card, we'll see her instructions, and we'll see Blackarachnia herself in both her Beast and Robot modes. I'll do some group shots today. Sadly, the only Beast Wars Blackarachnia I have is the Beast Machines toy. I never did get the original or the Transmetal, so sadly I don't have those to compare. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Blackarachnia comes in what is now the new standard deluxe class packaging for Kingdom. So it's got a little half window where you can see the toy herself. Then you get this really cool artwork. They go nuts on the artwork here. I love this. So you get her spider mode, just kind of slinking down on its web. Then you get her in robot mode, crouching down, ready to shoot her little stinger launcher. And what's cool is you can see the Predacons in the background. You got Waspinator, Megatron, Scorponok, and you can see what looks like the Nemesis flying in the background. So that's very interesting, very cool. Flip it around, you get renders for Blackarachnia, and they appear to be pretty close to the finished product. Maybe a little more metallic looking in the renders, but not a big difference. You see the beast mode there, lots of texture on the plastic, that's always good. If you don't know, the focus with Kingdom is to give show-accurate robot modes for the Beast Wars characters, but real-life accurate beast modes. So the beast modes won't exactly match what they look like in the show, and that's fine, because they were kind of cartoony in the show anyway. But anyway, she takes 20 steps to transform. It's got this little spider cave drawing on the back. It's very appropriate. Here you get your standard Kingdom side panel, which is a very cool bit of artwork. And on the top, you get your little Predacon peg flap, and then Predacon cave drawing. For anyone confused, maybe they only know her as a Maximal. Blackarachnia actually spent the vast majority of her time in this form as a Predacon. It wasn't till, later in the series that she switched sides, so I don't know if in this, rendition of the timeline she's going to stay a Predacon or not, or if she's gonna, end up switching sides eventually. Can't tell you. But this does make her accurate to the original toy, so it makes sense to do so. Here we have our little Fate reveal card, and this one is for Dinobot. And interestingly, he's being labeled as a Predacon, and apparently his toy is also being released as a Predacon. That's a little odd because the original Dinobot toy was a Maximal, but I guess in this case they're going to pay homage to Dinobot's Predacon roots from the cartoon. So, odd choice, but okay. So you can see this picture of him right here. Very nice. Presumably of his box art, I imagine. And we're going to go ahead, get a hold of this corner. We're going to peel this back. Okay, and we can see this new reveal here. You get a picture of Dinobot in his raptor form, along with a bunch of Maximals and Predacons in their respective beast forms. And I think it's just their package art recycled and put together here. Interestingly, he has a dual faction symbol here. It's got a Predacon and Maximal symbol, which leads into the little descriptor of his fate, which says leads United Factions. So in one potential future, Dinobot manages to, either conquer or somehow assume leadership of both the Maximals and Predacons and leads all of them, which is probably an allusion to his original plan after getting ousted by Megatron in the very first episode, that he would, take over the Maximals through force and then use them to conquer the Preds. So it's interesting. Apparently in some universe that actually plays out for him. Very neat. And here we have the instructions for Blackarachnia. And you can see she's undoubtedly a Predacon this time around. Nice render on the front. No tech specs, just like Cheetor, so they really have just done away with that. This just shows you how to make her hold her weapon. And then the transformation from robot to spider. You get a little bit of weapon storage on the bottom. And the finished product. And here is the beast mode. And I gotta say, it's a lot more realistically proportioned than the original toy. Though the downside to giving it the right proportions is you get a lot of robot kibble hanging off the underside here. Voila. Like, see your arms just hanging out there. There's a weapon storage that you can choose to utilize or not. Then you can also, make out her shins and everything right here. And she also has her, fake spider eyes on her butt, though she has real spider eyes on the head. So it's not perfect. This thing very much evokes the Masterpiece toy, where the beast mode just really suffers to accommodate a decent looking robot mode. So just expect that going into it. You're gonna have a lot of exposed robot parts. The plus side is that the part of the spider that is supposed to be seen looks really, really good. The proportions are pretty much exactly where they need to be for a Black Widow spider. However, it's a bit of an issue. Black Widow spiders are known for having a very distinct hourglass-shaped red mark on their thorax. She has these red marks, but they're not in the standard hourglass shape for some reason. I don't know why, decided to change it up, and they just kind of gave her these non-distinct glob-like marks. I don't know why they did that. I really don't. Can't explain why they would do that, but they did. Maybe they're afraid of IP infringement with the Marvel Black Widow character? I don't know. One major departure that this toy has from the show model's beast mode is that in the show, the spider legs are done up in a more bronze color. Kind of like this handle right here. Here they opt for black because, again, realistic beast modes, a Black Widow spider is not going to have these bronze colored legs. They're pretty much all black. So that is a big departure, and personally, it doesn't bother me a whole lot because they're kind of vestigial details. But it would be hypocritical not to point out that I gave Cheetor a lot of flack for using a very off shade of blue and not having any gold on him. So it'd be a fair criticism if you don't like the fact that her legs aren't brown or, copper or whatever anymore. Me personally, doesn't bother me. I think it makes for a better looking beast mode. And I mean, honestly, I had to be reminded that these were the wrong color in the first place. So, it wasn't a big detail that I really noticed. But you may feel differently. So to be fair, she is really lacking in the accuracy department. One thing that's cool is that her spider legs, little middle joints here, are all ball jointed so that you can manipulate the legs to get different poses, different stances out of her. And then the kind of upper hinge of the legs, they just kind of move up and down like this. That's it for articulation. They don't go any further than that, though. With the robot legs, or not robot legs, but the bug legs that hang off the robot, I actually don't mind, because one of the most frustrating thing with the insectoid Beast Wars characters was always fiddling with those legs and getting them in place. Transmetal Scavenger just drove me nuts with that. So even though it's less articulated, I actually don't mind, because there's less I have to fiddle with. Here's a comparison shot with the original Tarantulas toy, or more specifically the 10th anniversary version. And I show you this one because, these two were kind of a pair, but also the original Blackarachnia was just a redeco of Tarantulas, so this will give you a good idea of how much, has changed with the mold. And the biggest thing you'll notice is proportions are just so utterly different. This guy looks more like some kind of beetle than an actual spider. So, definitely a huge improvement in that department. Even the little spider mandible things here, they're just like the robot's hands, so they look really off. I mean, this guy looks like a stag beetle or something. And he's also got the wrong number of eyes, so that doesn't help. Still a good toy, and easily the best version of Tarantulas they've ever made. Still, I mean, it's just the original toy with better paint. But who knows, maybe we'll get something better down the line? Heavy retool or just new mold? prefer new mold, honestly. There's just too many differences between him and Blackarachnia. Here's a quick shot with Beast Machine's Blackarachnia, which is a very different take on the character, but also the only version of that incarnation of the character that I have, sadly. The original toy and the Transmetal, they just go for stupid prices on the secondary market, especially the Transmetal one. So I'll just have to make do with the Beast Machines one, which is actually one of my favorite Beast Machines toys. Like, almost none of them are show accurate because of the crazy liberties taken with, by the animators. But even though she's not at all show accurate, I really like her, and I think she actually looks better than the show model. But we'll get more into that when we do the robot modes. And the last group shot I want to do for Beast Mode is the Transformers animated Blackarachnia, one of the few animated figures I actually have. And this one's appropriate because even though it's a different incarnation, this was the design used in IDW publishing to represent this Blackarachnia. So, kind of works. Some people like to headcanon this one as being that version of her, and by all means, you can do that. Now, I think this is a very cool, stylized looking toy, but really fails at being a spider. You got like the obvious robot hands here, very oddly proportioned legs. So, very cool looking, not a great beast form. All right, now it's transformation time. So the first thing you want to do is remove her little, what do they call it, venom anchor? I think that's what they call that. Set that aside. You're going to pull her robot hands. They're tabbed in a little bit here, so just kind of separate them. Pull them up out of their feet, or out of her feet, like this. You just kind of want to lift all this up and out of the way. You want to bring her legs down. So just start kind of stretching everything out. You're gonna bring them kind of down and out, like so. You want to turn around here, lift up this thorax part out of the way, and bring her boobies down, because she needs those. It's important. Fold that piece in, just get it out of the way. Now, gotta kind of bring her legs around, about that much, and swing her pelvic area down like this. So you're getting her legs all nice and stretched out. You want to pull out her little knee spikes, get them to where they're flush with the rest of the surface there around her knees, like this. And then we're going to pull this assembly out, rotate it, rotate these like shoulder panels outward and out of the way, and then push this back in, like so. Now, get this out of the way, swing up her whole head and abdomen section. You want to get spider head in here and just kind of tab that together like so. Make sure her lady parts are pushed all the way in. They do slot in a little bit. Fix the head. Fold that up against her back nice and flush. And we're just going to straighten her arms out. So turn the elbows around. The legs pretty much are posed exactly how they were, pointing mostly back and maybe splayed out a little bit. All right, and just kind of get her in position. Trying to push her knee spikes in if you can help it. And get her nice and posed. Here we go. Look at that. That is a nice Blackarachnia. Let's go ahead and give her weapon. Now, she doesn't have 5mm holes per se, but she has these grooves in her claws that form like 2/3 of a 5mm port. So she is compatible with most accessories. So you just go ahead and plug that in. All right, now she's armed up. Looking dangerous. Now this is leaps and bounds ahead of anything we've been offered before. I mean, when you talk show accuracy at a deluxe scale, this is about as good as you get. Barring the spider leg colors, I know they're not accurate. And, that was an intentional decision because they could have made those, the same bronze as this if they wanted to. But other than that, I mean, all the details are here. She's got the Predacon symbol on her little collar area. She's got the little hourglass on her helmet. Look at her face. It's got multiple shades of that like goldish color, which is very accurate. She's got the very black eyes. She's got the spider leg markings on her bosom. The weapon looks just like it does in the show. Most of the colors are exactly how they should be. In the show, her upper shoulder area had kind of like a silverish color to it. They left that out, but pretty minor detail. The biggest, I guess, difference between the show model and this is the fact that she has the spider thorax folded up against her back. Because, again, the problem with Beast Wars, as far as the CGI models, is that the animators just really, really cheated. They just had parts like shrink, reshape, go away entirely. And in the case of Blackarachnia, she didn't keep the thorax backpack that, Tarantulas had, and by extension she should have had. They wanted to give her a more lithe form. So, she had like a fully exposed back. You really can't do that without just making it a removable piece, which is, maybe something they could have done. Gone along the lines of like Cliff Jumper or Warpath and just made it a shield. But honestly, I'm okay with it. It reflects the character's origins as far as her toy form, her relationship to Tarantulas and design, and it's just not... It folds up very nicely. It's nice and flat against her back. It's not just hanging off there like a big dome, so I'm okay with it. And I understand that at a $20 price point, you can only do so much when it comes to part counts. So I forgive it. Doesn't bother me. Maybe it bothers you. We'll see. But you can see here that, she's got the spider eye pelvic area, which is separate from the actual spider eyes, so that you can get the right color, as well as the right shape and number of eyes and stuff. And I think she's fantastic, guys. She's got a double ball jointed head, so she can get all sorts of cool poses. Or is that a ball joint? Never mind. Ball joint and a hinge. Take that back. Ball joint and hinge. The universal shoulders, bicep swivel. These bits can even swivel back and forth a bit for posing. She unfortunately lacks a waist swivel because of transformation, so that's one thing that kind of hurts her, because you expect her to be very posable. She does have universal hips, which is good, a thigh swivel, single bend knees, and ankle rocking and tilting. So aside from the waist thing, she's very posable. That's a shame that they couldn't work in a swivel of some kind. But if you look at like the inner workings, you can see how that just doesn't work. It's all hinges and stuff in there. So it's unfortunate, but not the biggest thing. To me, what I look for as far as a minimum in posability is, the head can go back and forth, shoulders can, go up, down, in and out, elbows bend, hips are, up, down, in and out. Preferably thigh and bicep swivel, and then like ankle tilting and stuff. So, if we can do that, the less common things like the waist swivel, the wrist swivel, double jointed parts, all that, it's not that big a deal to me. But who knows, maybe I just have low standards. I don't know. Here's Blackarachnia's old mold mate and eternal tormentor, Tarantulas. And again, you can see where the inspiration comes from. Even though their proportions are very different, the same overall design applies. They have little clawed hands, they got the spider legs coming off their arms. They have this, chitinous breast section, though, hers are much more stylized. They got the little spider eye pelvic area. They got the legs, which are part of the thorax, and the little, segmented looking feet. And in the case of this toy, they both have the backpacks there, thorax shells, as it were. So yeah, this is a really great update to that overall design, that concept. Now, again, because she is so specialized and made with a very particularly female form, you're not going to get a good Tarantulas out of this from just some light retooling. You either have to retool it very heavily or just do a new mold. And I'm not really sure if that's something that I see Hasbro doing these days, because they're so reluctant to make new molds. They try to milk the same, maybe like 10 different molds out of a whole toy line or two. And, oh man, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I feel like it would be insane for them to make Blackarachnia, but not Tarantulas, because Tarantulas is nearly as iconic of a character and has gone on to, enjoy almost as much post-Beast Wars fame as she has. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I really hope they do a new Tarantulas, though, because I'd love to see him with a modern take. Though, the original is so good, I wouldn't be terribly upset if they don't. Still a very solid toy 25 years later. Here we have the Beast Machine's Blackarachnia again. And you can see it's a very, very different design than her Beast Wars form, but still carries the same motifs. Very feminine humanoid character with spider details. Now this, like I already said, is easily one of my favorite Beast Wars toys. She's just such a cool looking toy. I absolutely love this thing. It's one of the figures I've actually had in my collection the longest. She was part of like the initial batch of figures I bought when I decided I was going to collect all those many years ago. Yeah, I bought her as well as like a Transmetal Rhinox and the Mutant Razor Claw and some Beast Wars figures. I just bought them all up at a Walmart when I had some money, and like that was the start of it. So she's been around a long time, and I never got tired of this toy. She is so good. I wish her on-screen appearance would look more like this because it's such a better design. And then last but not least, we have animated Blackarachnia again. And this is, you know, a fairly radical departure while still getting some of the key elements in there, especially the helmet shape. So again, really cool toy, one of my favorite from animated, and if you're sensing a common theme, it's that Blackarachnia just makes for good toys. She's a just really awesome character in like any incarnation. I really wish I had the Transmetal one because, God, that thing is so cool. It's one of those timeless Beast Wars figures that really doesn't need an update, unlike, say, her original. So, yeah, I just wanted to show you guys how well this toy stacks up against some of her, you know, contemporaries. And having done that, I think I've reached all I really have to say with Blackarachnia. I really love this toy. As kind of put off as I was about Cheetor, to me, she really redeems Kingdom. I don't know how much closer you could have gotten to show accuracy at a deluxe scale. Except, of course, the obvious, you know, black legs. Again, that was obviously intentional. So I'm not docking points. And, you know, if she might get a Netflix toy. I know Cheetor's supposed to. I forget if Blackarachnia is supposed to as well. If she does, I can imagine them painting her up in a more screen-accurate color scheme. Fixing those little things that don't quite line up. But they're not going to have to do a lot because, you know, like 90% of her is good. So I highly, highly recommend this toy, especially if you're a Beast Wars fan. I mean, this is the Blackarachnia. Barring maybe the Masterpiece, if you can afford that. She's just so good. And even if you're not really a Beast Wars fan, but you just want like a really cool Transformer, especially a cool female Transformer, because we don't get a whole lot of those, you'll really like this toy. She has such a presence on the shelf, and she just looks so cunning, so mischievous at the same time that I just love the idea of having her in my collection. Of course, that is purely how I feel about this toy. Perhaps you feel differently. I don't know, do you have some criticisms of this toy that I didn't quite touch on? Or do you have some praises that I failed to mention? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like, let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me as I took a look at this really awesome, brand new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Blackarachnia. And with all that said, I will see you next time.